Yo, yo. Yo, what's good, everybody? It's Jay Myrax of ultrawest.com. This year is a new year, 2017. One of the things I'm doing differently this year is starting to simulcast a bit because I got a lot of stuff going on. And I want to make sure that everybody is able to still get the same information and the value that I was offering through the videos. But in order for me to do it, I got to be able to do it live because I got a ton of stuff going on this year. I got Sound Mind sessions going off for those of y'all that have already been joining that and participating in the Sound Mind sessions. Got that going on. I got a new video course coming up soon for music producers, and I got a lot of other things coming on like this year. So in order for me to like really keep it going, this live thing is going to become a big part of it because it's going to take out a lot of the stuff that I was having to do in order to get things done here. So I'm going on YouTube right now. This is going live to YouTube right now. And we got the Instagram, and it's on 2 different cameras. So forgive me if I'm not looking at one camera or the other. But yeah, thank you everybody that's joined. Man, of course I'm going to talk about the Akai MPC X. That's the point of tonight. I want to talk about that. Of course, like I said, if you ain't been living under a rock, you probably have heard about this Akai bombshell, the MPC X and the MPC Live. I mean, everybody's been thinking about it. Everybody's been wishing for it. You know, it's a big deal for the community. So I want to talk about that tonight. And let me tell you first and foremost, if you're watching this video on a replay and you're looking for a review, this is not a review. Somebody said the YouTube stream is not on. I guess I got to deal with that later then, because that ain't a big deal for me right now. But I guess, yeah. Hold on one second. Let me deal with that. Let me deal with that, because that's not cool, actually. Should be okay though. Okay, it's up now. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good looking out. Hopefully you can hear it. But yeah, anyhow, if you're looking at this as a replay, this is not a review. I don't own any of the Akai MPC X or the Live. This is just a reaction. This is just a reaction. I am a Akai MPC user though. I got a Renaissance right here, 4000 right here, 2000 XL over there. So I'm definitely an MPC user as well as a machine user, but this is more of a reaction. So don't expect any first-hand experience or anything. But tonight the video and discussion is about really the announcement. I think it's a great thing for the music production community that more options are becoming available for music producers to make music on and get creative with. And the MPC X and the MPC Live are a big deal for people that love the aspect of working on music with an instrument as opposed to just a computer. But the announcement is, it wasn't unexpected because, we got NAMM 2017 coming up, and then we saw some little sneak previews and stuff last year in 2016, but the announcement leaves a lot of questions to be answered, and that's kind of where I am. Like, on one hand, I'm like, okay, this could be cool because this would give us a updated version of the MPC where you can use it without the computer and it'll be able to do a whole bunch of new stuff that the old MPCs couldn't do potentially. But I'm also wondering a lot about what the features are, because I see that there's a lot of features that have not really been discussed. We see a lot of discussion about audio tracks, which is part of the new software, which is awesome. And I think even if you're a Renaissance user or an MPC Touch user or MPC Studio, you should be able to access the 2.0. I would hope. That hasn't really been made clear, but I would hope so, because it's just software. So a software update would make the most sense to just be a paid update for users to be able to get access to it and continue working and continue getting that MPC workflow. But at the same time, a lot of the focus of this new MPC release has been about the software features, the warping, real-time time stretching, audio tracks, and of course the standalone feature of the new MPCs. And for me, the questions that come up is, first of all, what benefit is the standalone giving me? That's a big question for me, because again, I have two standalone MPCs in my setup right now. So the way I think about it is that a standalone has a major benefit when we're talking about sound. That's like the main thing that most MPC users that have used it from like back in the days would say are the main benefits, is that you have a sound advantage. So meaning, the MPC 60 has a legendary sound. It's a 12-bit machine. It has a legendary lo-fi crunch to it. It has a very specific sound. MPC 3000, it has a legendary sound. It's known for a very specific sound. And even people would argue that the 4000 is known for a very specific type of sound. And in this conversation about the new MPCs, I'm still curious to know what is the sound of this new MPC, because a lot of the information that I'm finding online is not talking about the sound. So, what things would make up the sound? When I say sound, first of all, I want to know things like, what is the bit depth of the unit? Is it a 16-bit machine? Is it a 16-bit sampler like the 5000? Or is it a 24-bit sampler like the MPC 4000? What is the maximum sample rate that it can do? Can it do variable sample rate? Can I go down to 22.5 like a old school 12-bit machine, or does it do 44.1 standard, or does it do 96K? Does it do 96K? That's a big question, because I want to know about the fidelity and the quality of the sampler. So that's still open question that I can't find on any of the sites right now that are featuring the MPC Live or the MPC X. So that's a big deal for me. Sound is very important if we're talking about a standalone. Another question that I have is about the effects. Effects are a major thing today, especially. I think one of the biggest benefits that the computer-based producer has today over the producer of the 90s and even in the early 2000s is the accessibility of pro quality effects. Back in the 90s, if you had a studio at home, you'd be lucky if you had, say, a 4-track or 8-track recorder, your drum machine, and maybe a mixer to do some EQing and stuff, and that was pretty much it. That's a pretty standard and pretty expensive home setup. And today, producers have access to a world of VSTs. You have very high quality VSTs at your disposal that you can put into a mix anytime you want. And the question is, with the MPC line now, do we get access to high quality effects inside of the unit in standalone mode? One of the biggest shortcomings that I found with even some of the legacy MPCs like the 4000 and the 2500 and the 1000 were the effects. The built-in effects were not pro quality in those. They were not very useful. And I think this MPC X and the MPC Live are an opportunity for Akai to really expand the possibilities of the standalone and really provide the user with some great effects built in, because let's be real, effects now have become a pretty standard part of music production workflow. It used to be kind of a thing where it's like effects are more of a mixed thing that you do after you've tracked your beat, but now producers are starting their tracks doing a lot of effects and effects automation for that matter, and that becomes a very important part of not just the sound but also the concept of the arrangement. You know, the automation really creates the flow of the music. Like automation, if you're not using automation today in your music, first of all, you're missing out on a big aspect of how you can really improve your arrangements and make them sound dynamic. And a lot of producers, especially a lot of younger producers I encounter, they get that now. They may not even play as much music as we used to play back in the days, but they know the automation game. So the drawing and the automation is a big part of it. So effects are crucial. And the question is, with the new MPCs, we're talking about the new MPC X and the MPC Live. The question is, how good are the effects? Are they pro quality effects inside the box when we're talking about standalone? Because from what I could gather from doing my research, there's no VST hosting in standalone mode. It's a standalone unit, and it has its own built-in sampler. It has its own built-in audio inputs and outputs, and it has its own way of dealing with audio tracks as well. So I would assume that it has some type of built-in effects unit, but that has not been discussed. And I would really like to know what effects it has in it, what type of effects, you know, what engine are they running off of? Are they running off of a Shark card or some type of DSP card, or are they running, are they native? You know what I'm saying? Like native meaning, are they running off of just a CPU? Because if they're native, then I can imagine that creates another issue with a standalone unit. Because when you're talking native, and I'm not talking native instruments, I'm talking about like natively running effects now, running off the CPU, that could potentially create a new strain on the unit, because now we're dealing with something that's more like a computer that has its own effects that are running in a plug-in mode, as opposed to them running off of some type of DSP card. What effects did the MPCs have in the past? Well, the MPCs had things like reverbs. They had filters, of course. There were delays in some of the MPCs. You know, there were different effects that you can use. Like the 2000 XL has the EB16 card that has reverbs and other stuff. And for the most part, they never really were useful in a pro application. So now, if you're putting the effects of today's modern modern production, I won't even say hip hop, modern production, if you're putting effects of today into this box, I would imagine that they're probably pretty CPU intensive. And depending on what kind of CPU we have in these new units, it could definitely create some type of CPU issues depending on, you know, how many effects they allow you to route and all this kind of stuff. So this is a question, not a criticism, a question, you know, because I need to know what kind of effects it has, first of all, because if it doesn't have good effects, then I can't see myself using it in standalone. Like I said before, the main benefit for me of a standalone is being able to capture a good sound, because the MPCs are always known for having a great sound when we're talking about the standalone. So What do the effects sound like? What do the filters sound like? What do the reverbs sound like? Are they useful, or are they just there just because? Because if it's that again, then I don't see as much benefit using that as opposed to using the Renaissance, which is tethered to my computer, where I can throw on my Apollo UAD stuff or any of the other effects that I have at my disposal. I can use that. So that's a question. I think it's important to ask the question about sound when we're talking about a $2,000 unit like the MPC X, or even a $1,200 unit like the MPC Live. I would want to know that off top, because that's a big aspect of music production. I think ultimately there's a lot of questions about the audio as well, the audio tracks. I have questions about how many audio tracks you can run. I see some comment or some talk about it being able to have 128 tracks total, but I'm not sure if that's software or hardware. I would like to know that, because that makes a big difference. Am I getting a hardware unit that now can be used as a 128 multi-track recorder, or is it a hardware that runs, say, 8 tracks like the MPC 5000, or some of the JJOS devices like the 2500 or the 1000? I would like to know that, because it makes a big difference in what I'm getting as far as benefit goes in the standalone mode, because we know the software mode is going to be powerful because it's software and it can run on any computer system that's compatible. So I would expect that the software is more in the direction of a full DAW, but the standalone mode is the main talk of this new MPC line. So there's a lot of questions like that. And, for me, I think if that's not at the top of the discussion right now, it needs to become the top of the discussion. All this talk about like touchscreens, I think is great. I did a video last year or a few years ago now talking about this on the touch. The touch, when I saw the touch come out and it had a touch screen, it was like, wow, finally, a hardware controller that's designed for beat making that has touch interface. I thought that was very forward thinking, and I thought that would become something that would create a trend in the music production world. And, I'm still waiting to see more manufacturers go after touch and really figure out ways to implement it musically. But I think now the conversation about a touch can't be the only thing that we're talking about. I think touchscreen is dope, being able to edit samples on it. That's dope. It's a great way of interacting with music. It's a great way of interacting with, file browsing for that matter, especially, just being able to do gestures and stuff. But that is not really that important as far as the music creation or the sound creation process goes. Like touchscreen is one thing, but my other question is, does it have an internal sound generator? You see, not does it allow me to touch the screen, but what kind of sound can I get out of it? Does it have some type of drum synthesizer, or does it have some type of built-in synth like the 5000 had? Something that allows me to get a sound that I can tweak and create sounds with on my own. Because one thing I don't want to have to do is only rely on just the samples that it comes with, or just the sound sources that it comes with. It may come with some great sounds. I definitely know some of the people that have worked on it, and I know them to be very great sound designers, and I'm sure it comes with some high quality sounds. So that's not my question. My question is, can I create sounds using the tools that it comes with? Because I think that will make a big difference in terms of how much bang for my buck I get with this unit. If it has a drum synthesizer, or if it has just some type of analog modeling synthesizer, that will make a big difference. Somebody says somebody says, will it work across platforms? It's supposed to work on Mac and PC. So I would expect that as long as you have a certain operating system that is compatible with, it should be fine. Another question, somebody says, just take a laptop with a USB MPC and you perform live. DJs use laptops. Why can't beat makers? Beat makers use laptops. I don't think that's an issue. I think people want a standalone unit for a very specific reason, and I think part of that is the perceived stability of standalone. If you were making music, even in the early 2000s and before that, you got experience with the stability of a standalone system where you had dedicated hardware doing specific tasks. Like, here's my drum machine, here's my keyboard, here's my bass. You had dedicated systems, and that definitely brought a lot more stability than what we saw in the early days of computing. I think that, especially in the beat maker community, we have this this idea that somehow there's going to be a single machine that allows us to do everything. And I think this is part of the dream. This is part of the dream that we have. We all want this one thing that we can work on and become a master of, and it does everything that we need. And I personally don't believe in that. I don't believe that there's one product that will ever show up on the market that will be able to do everything that we need as music producers. And I actually don't want it, because I think part of the thing with music production is that the tools always have to have some type of challenge in order for you to think creatively, because if they do everything, then you won't use your mind to solve problems. And part of the creative process is being able to solve problems and being able to find creative solutions to express yourself. So that manifests itself in a lot of ways. It may manifest itself in the way that you play. It may manifest itself in the way that you sample things, or whatever the limitations are. You have to be willing to figure out ways to solve that. So I don't necessarily believe in this concept of finding this one box, but I also think that a lot of producers, especially in like the beat making community, are just not aware of other types of solutions that you can use. I know some people are, but I don't think we have to rely on a single computer. I think that should be stated. Nobody has to rely on a single computer to do all their production today. So if stability is an issue and you're working in a studio environment, there are other options. You have things such as Vienna Ensemble Pro. This is a system that allows you to create a network of computers that can be running different plugins or different programs in your production. So you might have a Macintosh, or I'm gonna say Macintosh, an Apple computer running your main stuff, like your Logic or whatever, and then you can have a network of PCs running Vienna Ensemble Pro connected to your main computer via Ethernet, and they could be running Contact and Battery and all your big sample libraries, and that will create a lot more stability than having just a standalone unit that has a very limited amount of RAM or very limited amount of hard drive space. If you have a network of computers, you're much more powerful than a single computer. And I think a lot of music producers, like I said, in the beat making community, are looking at one box as opposed to looking at building a system that is more reliable. So I think this whole talk about stability needs to be rethought from that perspective, because I don't believe that every producer is actually traveling with their gear all the time. I think that's part of the dream, is that you can somehow travel with your equipment and make beats anywhere. And I think there's some value in that, but most people are not making beats anywhere. A lot of people are making beats in their studio at the end of the day, because that's where stuff really gets done. That's where you can focus. That's where you have the least amount of distractions. And I believe today, if a producer really wants to make beats anywhere, there's a lot more portable options. You have iPads, iPad Pro now, and stuff like that. That's very powerful. That can do an awful lot. I mean, I could sit up there and make beats on an iPad in a recliner, no problem, and that's portable. So I don't think that the portability or the all-in-one nature is enough anymore. I think really what we should be looking at is what kind of sound benefits we're getting at the end of the day. Somebody has another question here. So yeah, I mean, anyhow, I think a lot of people are buying standalones right now because they're chasing sound, or they're chasing maybe even a connection to the culture somehow, because especially when we talk about MPCs or even ASR 10s, there's definitely a culture associated with that. There's a legacy. There's, like, you know, some of the top producers in hip hop and R&B used MPCs, and I think being connected to that legacy definitely creates a sense of confidence and pride, and it makes you feel like you're touching something that's part of history, and, you know, somehow maybe that energy would transfer into your production. I get that, because there's definitely some value to that. You know, there's definitely some value in knowing that you're using something that is professional and is known to deliver results. So I think it's a good thing, but, you know, again, for me, the sound topic has to be the forefront of the conversation, not portability, not the standalone nature of it. We need to ask the question: what is the sound? What is the sound like? Is there a sound benefit? Because when you also think about this in terms of modern workflow, the new MPC X and the Live are presenting the possibility now of creating on the standalone and then tethering back to the computer to finalize the track. So my thought is this: if I'm going to tether back to the computer and essentially transfer my work to the computer, there's no tracking process. And if there's no tracking process, yes, that saves time, but that also eliminates the recording step, and that's a major part of how sound is developed. You know, a lot of people are not recording these days. A lot of people are just using sound content and keeping it in the digital domain. But if you actually have a recording chain and you're recording through, you know, nice preamps, or you're recording with nice microphones, and you know, you understand signal flow and you understand how to get a good signal, you can improve the sound or fidelity of your recording. And if you simply do a transfer from the hardware to the software without recording, then you lose that part. So then you're more reliant on plugins at that point. So I think if we're not talking about the modern production workflow and how plugins play a part in the sound shaping, and then we're also not going to talk about the quality of the unit as far as the sample rate and bit depth, and we're not going to really address the whole recording aspect, then I think we're losing sight of the value of this. And I think for a lot of people, it will just be a hype machine and not something that is very useful for them, because you can already make tracks with the MPC Renaissance and excuse me, and transfer it, and it's already on the computer. There's no transfer. Hold on. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a big question still. So hopefully this will get answered in the coming days. I'm gonna be going to NAMM. I'll be at NAMM the first day, which is Thursday, and I'll also be there on Saturday. If any of y'all are going to NAMM, look out for me. I'll be out there, you know. Definitely like chopping it up with folks in the community. Love having conversations with people, especially in that kind of environment, because it's exciting. You know, we running around looking at new gear, oohing and ahhing and stuff, and you know, I love music production. I love music production equipment. So NAMM is like always a great time, even if not a lot comes out, it's still a great time. So if any of y'all coming, definitely hit me. I'm also interested in seeing some other stuff in NAMM. It's not just the MPC show at NAMM. I think the MPC will be something that I go try to check out. Who knows? It may not even be at NAMM. I don't know. Like I said, I don't work at Akai. I don't have any inside information about that, so I don't know. But I will say that, you know, in the past I've gone up to the booth and, you know, it's been a little bit more red tape around certain stuff that may have been announced. So I think it would be good to know if somebody's going to be showing the MPC X, even if it's going to be just like a non-hands-on demonstration where you have some performer or somebody that's talking about it. But questions will be asked at NAMM for sure. But also interested in seeing this new Behringer synthesizer. The new Behringer analog synthesizer looks incredible. It looks like it's an incredible value, you know, for it to be a polyphonics analog synthesizer for $1,000. To me, that's a big deal. I'm into stuff that makes sound. You know, I'm not so much into just MIDI controllers and samplers. You know, the thing with samplers is samplers are great. They're excellent tools. They can be manipulated. They can change sound, but you have to be recording sound. So I think, you know, one of the big things that people miss is that, you know, recording sound sources is an important part of dealing with a sampler. So I always try to look for sound sources that are inspiring as well. So the new synthesizer from Behringer, that one looks interesting to me. I also want to look at, you know, some outboard gear. I don't know if y'all have checked out like the new stuff from, not really that new, but the stuff from Warm Audio. Warm Audio has some great great looking equipment. Like they have you know, their version of the 1176 compressor, and they have like a LA2A type limiter and a couple other things that are interesting. So I want to check that out because, like I said, you know, recording chain is definitely important, especially if you're dealing with recording samples and whatnot. I don't think you want to just have like a stock interface and no way of recording or changing the sound. So I think that's going to be on my list. And, you know, I also want to look at some microphones and that kind of thing. Just looking at stuff that allows me to capture sound and create sound as well. So that's going to be a big thing. But, you know, for you guys, you know, I would like to know what you're looking at. You know, what are you interested in at this point? You know, what things have you heard about for this year's NAMM that sound interesting to you? Because, you know, I don't have time to look at everything. Like I know a few things just by word of mouth. I got a couple homies that tell me, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? And I might do the same thing. But if y'all know anything, I would be happy to have you put me up on game, because, you know, I don't know everything for sure. Heard the Apollo dropping a new digital interface. What do you mean a new digital interface? Do you mean it's just got digital I/O where I can connect other converters and or other I/O to it? Is that what you mean? I don't know what that means, a new digital interface. Be interesting to see though. I think a lot of people are discovering Apollo and okay, with more monitor outputs. Oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, that could be cool. You know, if they are creating something that has a monitor controller, that would be interesting as well. I think that would cut out a lot of the hassle of having an external monitor controller and, you know, having something that you can, you know, switch monitors on the fly, especially if there's like some type of remote or something. That would be dope. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm also interested, even though it's not necessarily new. I'm interested in the PreSonus fader port, the new fader port, the multi-channel one. That one looks cool. I mean, I've been hoping that somebody would come to the market with something that has a bit more usefulness in the studio for mixing without costing $1,000. And I think PreSonus came out with something recently that is pretty appealing as well. Yeah, I mean, that would be cool if UAD does kill Apollo. They can't kill Apollo. It would be cool if they killed the big knob. But, you know, I think the big knob was cool, wasn't great. You know what I'm saying? It was just a means to an end for a lot of people. And I know a lot of studios that use it and it works fine, but it's an extra step. And if you could have something more integrated into the audio interface with the remote, it would be awesome. So I think it's a great deal if they have something that is going to be integrated, or if it's just a new unit altogether. I'm not necessarily going to buy a new unit, but you know, technology is technology, and I think if they're making it easier for producers and engineers to work and get better sound quality, it's good, because at the end of the day, with these monitor controllers, if you buy cheap, you know, you compromise the sound. You know, it is what it is. It's one of the aspects that you have to deal with. A cheap monitor controller is going to impart some type of noise or distortion into the signal, and then you have to compensate for that. So if they take out that step, then, you know, that'll be a step in the right direction. You know, what are some other things that you guys are looking at, though? I'd definitely be curious to know, like, what is it that you're looking for? Because I know a lot of people ask me about MIDI controllers a lot. And, you know, my stance on MIDI controllers is that MIDI controllers are necessary if you are more music instrument orientated. If you like playing your melodies with a keyboard or pads or whatever, if you like doing your drums on a pad controller, I think MIDI controllers are great, and it becomes very subjective which one is the best one. So for me, like, the question about MIDI controllers comes up with producers all the time. Saying, should I get, you know, the Push, or should I get the Jam, or should I get the Renaissance, or should I get the Touch, or, you know, all this stuff. And it's just like, whichever one fits your preferred method of input is cool. It doesn't matter really. It's just a method of input. Today is really about the software at this point. You know, the software is kind of where it all comes together. The MIDI controller is just, it's like a mouse. It's like a, you know, QWERTY keyboard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a method of input. Some people like track balls and track pads and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a personal preference. So whether you like the machine, you know, or whether you like the APC or whatever it is you like, is cool. You know, I think some of this stuff has different workflow, but at the end of the day, that workflow stuff is not really determining the sound necessarily. It's really about what you do as the operator behind it. So whatever the workflow is, you got to deal with that and adjust to it anyhow, but it's about how you can operate it and get the sound out of it. So MIDI controllers, I don't trip off of it. I don't personally want more MIDI controllers. You know, somebody give me a MIDI controller, is cool, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I'm not looking to buy any more MIDI controllers, and I think more producers should probably stop looking at MIDI controllers as much and maybe start looking at some recording stuff as well, because recording is important, more important than MIDI control, in my opinion. What's your favorite synth? My favorite synth at the moment is the Prophet 6, the new Prophet 6. That joint is fire. I played it at NAMM a couple years ago when they first came out with it. Amazing poly synthesizer, great sound. Like, it's everything that you love, or that you think about when you talk about analog, from the most you know, the most typical talk about analog. If you ever thought about analog sounding a certain way, the Prophet 6 is that. It sounds analog. It sounds great. It's fat. It's warm. It's funky. It sounds good. Very expensive. You know, it's about $3,000. But I think if you had to buy one analog synth right now, and you weren't going to do the modular thing, I'm not even going to get into that. That's a whole different conversation. Not getting into that tonight. But if you were going to get one synth and you like keyboards, I would get the Prophet 6. That's my favorite one. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. I don't want to go all night with this. I mean, if y'all got any more questions, cool. Otherwise, you know, we'll chop it up at another time, because, like I said, this is going to be an ongoing thing. We're going to keep doing these live sessions because, you know, I enjoy the interaction, first of all, and I think it's helpful to everybody, you know, especially when we start talking about some of the other aspects like we talked about, you know, in the previous live streams, like some of the music business stuff we were talking about. Favorite VST? That's hard, man. Like a favorite VST. Shoot. You know, it's hard for me to, I really don't have a favorite VST. There's a lot of VSTs that I use. The ones that I use most frequently now are the Machine and Massive, to be honest. And Massive took me a while to get into because it doesn't work the way that I would normally work with a synthesizer. But once you understand how Massive works, it's very powerful. You can do a lot with it. The modulation routing possibilities in Massive are amazing, and you can get a lot of great sounds out of it. So I think Massive can be criminally slept on as far as the synth shaping and just the sound creation possibilities are concerned. So yeah, that's my favorite. But VST, you said VST, so I'm assuming that you would also include effects. If we had to get into that, one of my favorite things to use is Guitar Rig. And I mean, some people might say I'm spilling the beans right now, but a lot of producers don't use Guitar Rig. And I don't know why. Maybe because it says Guitar Rig and you think you're not a guitar player. But Guitar Rig is fire. And if you start using it for your sounds, it can change the creative possibilities. It's awesome. A lot of producers need to start checking into Guitar Rig and really start seeing what they can get out of it creatively, because it will definitely inspire you if you put a different sound through it other than a guitar. I use it for a lot of stuff. I'll put keyboards through it because, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, keyboard players, like the people that used to play Rhodes and, you know, a lot of other vintage electric pianos and whatnot would use guitar pedals to process their Rhodes to get a different sound. So Guitar Rig is like perfect. You got a whole bunch of different source or different effects processors you can use, and you can create creative chains, and there's some cool stuff that you can do with modulation and all that. It's amazing. So that's one of my favorite things to use. That's my favorite VST for sure. I appreciate that, Mr. Wizard. Yeah, for all y'all that haven't checked out the Sound Mind Sessions video course, when we're done with this, I want you to go to my website, ultrawest.com, and there's a link there where you can click on it and get access to the free 6-part video course that I've created called Sound Mind Sessions, because I think for a lot of music producers, it is going to change the game. It's free, okay? This is free. You know, it's over an hour of videos that are designed to help you to really get the most out of your music production, and change the way that you think, and it'll change the way that you approach your music career, for that matter. So if you haven't done so, If you're watching this on IG, you can find a link in the description, or not in the description, in my bio, and you can click on the link in my bio and that'll get you there. Otherwise, if you're looking at this on YouTube, you can go to my website, ultrawest.com, and I'll try to make sure that there's some type of link in the video description after this is done. But great information in there. If you're serious about music production, I think you'll get a lot of value from that. So please go ahead and go get that. It's just about to stumble to purchase a Akai MPC Ren. Stumble on the news about the X on the Humble. My MPC 5000 HDD died out nowhere. Well, you might be in the market for a new MPC then. So who knows when this one's going to come out, though? That's the other thing. You know, we don't know when the real release date is going to be of the MPC X. So hopefully it comes out shortly after this announcement. You know, we had NAMM last year, and they talked about the 2.0, and whole year has passed, a new NAMM is coming, and we still talking about 2.0. So hopefully it comes out in a reasonable period of time so that we can start using this stuff and not just talking about the theoretical use of this whole 2.0 and audio tracks, because we're going to see, you know, is audio tracks going to be the game changer for the MPC workflow, or is there still going to be other stuff? What about Roli blocks? I mean, Roli blocks. Okay, what about it? Because I haven't used it. I'm not familiar with it. Not to the degree that I would want to have a whole conversation about it. I think it, you know, conceptually it's a cool idea, but I need to use it. I'd like to go check it out and really get an impression. So maybe. Oh no, you're right. You're right. I thought you were asking me to comment on it. Snipe. No, I haven't played with it, so we should check it out, man. Like definitely, I'm definitely going to the Roli booth, and I'm gonna check out the Roli blocks and see what it's really about, and try to get a better impression on it. Because you know, it's always some new cool stuff that'll expand the creative possibilities, and you know. One of the things I was talking about last year was the C-board. The C-board is an amazing concept to me. You know, the ability to have multi-dimensional control over your instrument sounds on the computer is going to lead to more expressive ideas and, you know, expressive song creation for that matter. So I think it's a major deal. Now, there was a lot of issues with the Roli C-board as far as it being compatible with other VSTs, because they had their own software that was kind of designed to integrate with it, but as soon as you went outside of their paradigm or their platform, then it was like, okay, it's complicated and it's not that useful. So I'm hoping that, you know, the blocks is a little bit more palatable, something that somebody can come in and, you know, work with and not have to just, you know, relearn everything they know about music production or like re-rig their whole studio in order to get use out of it. I think that that'll be a big deal for them if they found something that's creatively inspiring and also compatible, because that's a big thing. I think a lot of companies tend to want to be Apple somehow. Like they want to have their own closed system and make it where you only can use their stuff and you have to use their stuff the way that they intend you. So, if they say that there's no more 1/8" input and you got to use this new input now, or you got to use wireless, then that's what it is. So that means you're going to buy some new stuff. So, the closed system concept is definitely something that you already know just from a business standpoint. A lot of companies want to have that. But it's not just for a business standpoint. I think that's one aspect of it. I would say the other aspect is just being able to control the stability of it, because that's one of the things that was the gift and the curse of PC, is that PC is open-ended, so if you're a great technician, a great computer person, you can design a system piece by piece that is optimized for what you want it to do, and it has all the components that are necessary for you to get your work done. But at the same time, because it is open-ended, it creates a lot of inconsistencies, creates a lot of potential for incompatibilities and instability. And that's one of the main reasons why certain companies want to have this closed system as well, is because they can control the platform a lot better. And that allows them to say that we know our system is stable now because we know that it only works with a certain limited set of things. So I think that's an important aspect to keep in mind too. But, you know, for the Roli Seaboard, they didn't really have an ecosystem yet. So if you want to use the Roli and you only can use one thing, I think it's not that useful. They would have to have a DAW and all kind of other stuff to make it really appealing in the current form. So let's see, man. Let's see what the Roli Blocks is really hidden for. I hope that it is like something that is cool and that I can come home with and say, oh man, look, y'all, this Blocks is amazing. Like, look at what I can do with it. But we'll see. But yeah, I've been on this thing for a minute now, so I'm gonna call it quits for the night, y'all. I really appreciate everybody that's joined. I appreciate the questions, the comments. I appreciate all that. Again, if you haven't already done so, go to the website ultrawest.com. Go get access to the SoundMind sessions. Sign up, make sure that you get that, and it'll bless you for real, all right? Until next time, I just want to tell y'all peace and God bless.